Are you looking for the perfect crochet pattern to make this weekend? You've come to the right place. I'm Marley Bird, your By Crafty bestie. Let me show you how to make them. Let's go.
Show me love, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love.
Hello there, friends, and welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I will show you how to make the Cinnamon Dreams Crochet Mosaic Fingerless Mittens. It's a very long title for some very easy mittens. This pattern is written in 4 different sizes. It's very easy to do. Let's take a look at what you need to complete this project. For the Cinnamon Dreams Fingerless Crochet Mitts, you need 2 different colors of worsted weight yarn. I'm using the Brava Tweed yarn from We Crochet, and this yarn has a suggested hook size of a 7 or an 8, which is also a 4.5 to a 5 millimeter hook. Okay, so if you're looking to substitute the yarn, that's a good place to start as far as looking at what hook size is suggested for the yarn you want to choose. Along with the yarn, you need 2 different size hooks. We will be using the 5 millimeter hook for the cuff or anywhere there is a finishing on the fingerless mitt. And then we use a 5.5 millimeter hook for the body and the thumb of the mitt. Okay, so we'll use the smaller one to get tighter cuffs and tighter edges, larger one as we're working the mosaic stitches in the body of the fingerless mitt. Along with those, you need at least 2 different removable stitch markers. We will use these stitch markers to identify the thumb gusset as we are making the mitten. So as we are working on this mitten, we want to make sure we can identify where these stitches are right here for this thumb gusset. Once you have those materials, the only thing left to do is get your pattern. If you're following along with the VIP experience, go ahead and download your ad-free PDF now. Yours includes a bunch of extra charts that the free version doesn't have, so make sure you watch the video on how to use those charts. If you're following along with the free version, make sure you click the link right down there below and it will take you to the blog post with this pattern. You do have to subscribe to the Marley Bird website to view the free pattern, but it is free to subscribe, so go ahead, sign up, and you'll get that pattern right there on your device. Okay, let's get the pattern, gather your materials. We're going to start with the cuff of these fingerless mitts. We start these mittens at the cuff, so we will be working single crochets through the back loop only, working in this direction for this cuff. We are going to cast on the number of stitches written in the pattern, and you will notice it makes it a nice wide cuff that we can fold up. The first thing I need you to do is grab the smaller hook and grab what will be your color A. Go ahead and place a slip knot directly on that hook and then chain the number of chains written in the pattern. I will be doing the smallest size, so I will be chaining 19. Once you get those 19 chains, we want to do a single crochet in the back loop of the second chain from hook. You will never count the loop on your hook as a stitch, so you look for the V underneath that loop, so that's the first chain. Here's your second chain. Go into the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and draw through 2. That is a single crochet. If you are struggling to keep your edges straight, a good tool here is to go ahead and use one of those stitch markers, and you're going to place it into the V right now that's behind the loop on your hook after you complete your single crochet. And that lets you know that that is the first stitch of this row. So when you come back, you'll know that that's the last stitch. Now moving along down the chain, we're going to go into the back loop of each chain all the way to the end. And you will end up with 1 single crochet shorter than the total number of chains you created. So I did 19 chains, so I will have 18 single crochets. And if you're not comfortable with single crochets through the back loop, you want to get very comfortable with it, because that is what we will be doing for this entire project. We work through the back loop using single crochets, or we work through the front loop using double crochets, which I call the mosaic double crochet. So you will become very familiar with single crochets. Take your time and get all the way to the end, and then make sure that you count to make sure you have the total number that you need. You want to keep that number consistent as you're working the cuff so it becomes a nice rectangle. When you get to the end of your row, we are not changing colors or anything. We're keeping the same color. So you can chain one and turn, or turn and chain one. It doesn't matter. And we will continue to work single crochets through the back loop only. So we did a chain one. So that first V that's underneath the loop on our hook, that's our chain. So if you go to the next V, that's the top of the stitch. And so we're going to go into the back loop only of that stitch and work a single crochet. Same thing on this end. In order to keep our edges nice and straight, if you grab that other stitch marker and you put it through the V, so the top of the stitch you just completed, that will let you know that that is the first stitch you've done. And now we just continue on down the row, working the single crochet through the back loop only. And when I get to the end of this row, I will know I have reached the end when I get to my marked stitch at the very end of the row. So I don't have to wonder if I have to do one more stitch or if I've gone one stitch too far, because I have the marker there keeping everything in place. This is a very useful way to keep your edges nice and straight. So if this is something that you struggle with on other projects, grab a stitch marker and let those stitch markers become your best friend. And you'll see how this works. We're going to get down here to the end. And right here, my marked stitch, it's the V right there. I'm going to go through the back leg, back loop, and complete that stitch. Can you see that? So I've done 2 rows. I can chain one and turn, or turn and chain one. And then as I go to complete the single crochet through the back loop of this first one, remember you don't count the chain, go into that first one, complete your single. You can undo this marker and bring it up and put it through the stitch you just completed, and then we will carry on. See? As you're doing this, you'll notice that you get these really great ridges, okay? So that's like there's a valley and the top of a ridge. You will continue on working row 2 until you have the number of rows completed written in the pattern. Remember, you're just working single crochets in the back loop only, all the way down, chain one, and then do the same thing all the way back. So go ahead, finish your cuff, hit pause, and then join me back here and we will join that cuff together and move on to the start of our hand, okay? That is the last one for my row. So it's at this point that I am ready to seam up my cuff. But if we take a minute, we can see that the cuff is extremely stretchy, right? So I know it might look like it's really small right now, but it has a lot of give and a lot of stretch. Now, when you get to the part where you have all of your rows complete, we're going to fold this together and seam it up. Now, when we seam this together, we will be using a slip stitch to seam it. We will work through the back loop only of the single crochets that we're working down, and we will be working through the free loop that we have from the beginning chains that we did. Working a slip stitch seam in this manner allows us to have fewer ends to weave in, and it allows us to keep the yarn that we're using still intact so we can keep going right into the hand. So let's go ahead and seam this up. Okay, I finished the last row with my chain one. So when I turn my work, I will be working down the rows that we've been working anyways, but I will be working through the back loop of this stitch, and then working over here, I'm going to go through the free loop from my chain edge. Can you see that? My free loop from my chain edge. Once I put my hook through both of those, I yarn over my hook and then pull that through the chain edge, pull that through the back loop only, and then pull it through the loop on my hook. And then repeat. Go through the back loop of the row you're on, come right across, go into the corresponding chain edge, and then yarn over and pull through all of those. And we'll do this all the way to the end. And the biggest thing here is you just want to make sure that you're keeping this as even as possible. And you want to get all the way to the top. You want to start down here at the very bottom so that it's even. And you want to make sure you get to the top to where it's even. Okay. In theory, you should have slip stitches for the exact number of stitches that you have. But, you know, every now and then you might accidentally skip a stitch or add an extra stitch or so on. It's not the end of the world. We're just joining these together. And as long as you're trying to keep it as consistent as possible, it's going to look good. All right. And then I can see this is the last stitch of my row, right? Because I have my marker there. And I can come across to the last stitch of this side, and I'm all the way up. So now you can see here, I have this nice slip stitch join right there. So when I fold my cuff, it's virtually invisible. See that? Okay. All right. It's at this point I can remove my markers. I'm not going to need these until I get to the thumb gusset. So I can remove my markers, and I'm still using my color A, and I'm still using my smaller hook. And what I want to do now is I will be putting a single crochet into each row all the way around. So you did a certain number of rows, and by putting a single crochet into each one of these rows, you are going to get the correct number of stitches you need for the body of your fingerless mitt. So if you made the Autumn Breezes Crochet Mosaic hat, you know exactly how to do this. It's the exact same process. We will be placing a single crochet at the end of each of these rows. Let me show you how I do it. Okay, so you can see here you have the post of this row. I literally am just going to go around, I'm just going to work around that post. If you want to just go through a strand of it, you could do that. Whatever you choose to do, just be consistent with it. That's the name of the game. I will go ahead and put my marker there at the start just so that it's at the top of the stitch, just to keep that consistent. All right, so I went around that post. Now right here, I have a big hole where we worked into that stitch of that row. So I'm just going to work through the hole. It's not going to make that big of a difference, and it's going to look fine. And then I go through the post, and then I go through the hole. You see this? So I'm consistent all the way around, and I will get the correct number of stitches because I have the correct number of rows. Now, like I said, you can choose to go into your edge however you want. Just be consistent with it. That's all that matters at the end of the day. And you really just want to make sure you have the correct number of stitches, because that is what is the most important here. Because if you don't have the correct number of stitches, your mosaic pattern is not going to work out. All right, so you want to make sure you have the correct number of stitches. And when we get to the end of this row, we will be doing an invisible join. And that invisible join is what we will be using throughout this pattern. So it's a very easy join. It's not a slip stitch. You're going to see that it's super easy to do, and it makes changing to our new color super easy as well, because we don't have to worry about changing color at a certain point within the stitch. All right, so I'm to the end of my row. This is my tail here. I'm going to get it out of the way. End of my row. Here's how you do the invisible join. You take your hook out of the loop you have on. I'm going to put my hook from back moving towards the front underneath the very first stitch I did. Take that loop and place it on your hook again. Oops. See that? So you place it on your hook again, and then you pull it through just like so. Okay. And that's how you do the invisible join. Once you have joined this round, it's time that we move on to round one. This was just our setup round. Round one is really the very first round of our mosaic pattern. So it's represented by round one on your chart and round one in your written instructions. It's at this point we will transition to our larger hook, and we will continue to follow the instructions, changing colors every round. Okay, we begin with our color A still, but then on the next round, we'll go to color B, and then we go back to A, back to B, back to A, back to B, and you do that throughout. That sequencing of A, B, A, B, A, B is what you will keep consistent throughout your mitten. So even as you go to do the stitches for your thumb after the whole mitten is complete, you want to make sure that you're maintaining that color sequence. So if you ended with a color A, you're going to start with color B. If you ended with a color B, you're going to start with color A. Make sense? All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to grab our larger hook here. So we use our smaller one, set it aside. We won't use it again until the end of this mitten. And we are going to work the first full round of our hand. So we start off here, we chain one, we are not changing colors. And then I'm going to go into the back loop of this single crochet right here and work a single crochet. I'm going to put my marker in the top of that stitch again, just so we know where it is. And then I will place a single crochet in the back loop of each single crochet all the way around. This is a great time to also count your stitches, just to double check that you have the right number of stitches. And if you need to decrease one or add one in there, just go ahead and do that on this round. No need to pull everything out and start again, unless you are missing like 5 or 6. But if you're just missing 1 or 2, just kind of evenly space it out at some point around this round, and you'll be all set and good to go. So we're just working through the back loop only all the way around. When you get to the end of the round, we will also do that invisible join again. So extend your loop up, take your hook out, go from the back of the work, going forward through the top of that first stitch you did, grab your loop and place it on your hook, and then pull that through. Okay, that's our join. It's at this point we are now going to change colors. So we're going to grab our color B and make sure that you do leave a little bit of a tail here. You don't want to leave too short of an end because it makes it difficult to weave ends. So make sure you leave a little bit of a tail here, and go ahead and yarn over with your new yarn and pull up a loop. So you're just chaining one with your new color. Okay, that's what we're doing. I'm going to remove my marker here. And I've just dropped my color A. I'm not cutting it. I'm just dropping it. Okay. I'm just dropping it, keeping it out of the way. Okay. I now have color B on my hook, and I will work one full round with color B. This is round 2 of the chart. And again, you work through the back loop only, and we're just doing single crochet through the back loop only all the way around for this round as well. I'm going to go ahead and mark that first stitch. Until you're comfortable not marking that first stitch, keep it marked. It will help you, okay? And then we're just working through the back loop only all the way around. And try and keep these single crochets the same size as your hook. Keep them consistent. So when you pull up that loop, don't pull it real tall like that. Make sure you keep it that loop there, keep it the size of your hook. That'll keep your stitches very consistent. You'll be happy for it. As you come up to the end of the round, we will do that invisible join again. So extend up your loop, come over here, find the first stitch of your round, go from back to front, and put your loop on your hook. Something I like to do is I'll grab my yarn here and I'll just tighten that loop up around my hook to make it easier. Then I pull it through. I will drop my color B and pick up my color A. Remember, because we're changing colors every round. And this is where we transition to round 3. So we will chain one with our color A, and we just let color B hang out there. As we move on to round 3, this is where the mosaic stitches really begin. So we will be working single crochet in the back loop only for some, and mosaic double crochet in the front loop only for others. Whether you're following along with the written instructions or the chart, you will see exactly when you're supposed to use either stitch. Just remember that when you do the mosaic double crochet in the front loop, you will not work into that single crochet that is behind that double crochet. I'll show you what I mean right here. Let's work round 3 together. Okay, so I have my chain 1 already completed with my color A. So I will work a single crochet in the back loop only for the first 2 single crochet here. Okay, go ahead and put your marker into that first stitch if you would like to do that and keep that going here. All right. So we've done our 2 single crochet in the back loop only, and it's time for us to do our double crochet. This is what's going to give us the really great lines here in our work. So when you are doing a mosaic double crochet in the front loop only, you will always be working into the same color loop as the color yarn you're working with. All right. And you're working into the row 2 rows below where you are. So if this is ground 0, this is 1 row below where we are. This is 2 rows below where we are. So we're going to go down here. So what I like to do is I know I'm doing a double crochet. So I yarn over my hook. And typically I would be going into that stitch, right? I'd be going right here, but I want to go into the stitch beneath it. So if I just take my hook and just draw a line, it's right there. See that bar right there? We're going to go into that, but we're going to go into it coming from the bottom. So I'm going to come up from the bottom, put my hook through it, yarn over, and then pull that yarn over through that loop. I want to maintain that all of those loops are the same size as my hook. And then I just complete my double crochet. So I yarn over and draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Okay. See how now that double crochet is extended down over top of the blue color here. And we're going to begin to get this illusion of these geometric shapes. Now, what I meant by not working into the single crochet behind the double, it's that one right there. The one that I was like, if we were just doing normal stitches, we'd be going into that. Well, now this double crochet takes the place of that. So we will not work into that stitch. You work to the next one over. So we go to the next stitch over and we'll do our single crochet through the back loop only, because that's what the pattern calls for. And then we do that for the next 2 of them as well. So 3 total. All right. So I have 3 total. Oh my gosh, there's a knot in my yarn. Well, this is a great opportunity to tell you, you do not want to work a knot into your project. So it's at this point, I will go ahead, I will cut that, and I will cut that, get that knot away. With that yarn cut away, now all we have to do is rejoin our yarn. This is how we do it. With a loop on our hook, go ahead and leave yourself a nice long tail for your new yarn, right? And just hold your new yarn in your hand. And we're going to continue on. So I have another single crochet through the back loop to do over here. And then I'm ready to do another mosaic double crochet underneath this stitch here. So I come down, work my mosaic double crochet in the front loop, and I'm good. These tails right here, I just let them be. I can weave them in later. So I'm going to just tuck them right down into there. And I just go ahead and I carry on. Okay. So I keep working this all the way over. Work those 3 single crochet through the back loop only. Work my mosaic double crochet through the front loop only. Remember, try and keep these double crochets consistent. Keep those loops the same size as your hook. Make sure you skip that stitch that's behind the double crochet, and then go to the next stitch over and work the single crochet through the back loop only. Do that for 3 stitches. Then we have 1 more mosaic double crochet in the front loop. Then we finish with 2 single crochet in the back loop only. Okay. Now, all of this right here, those 17 stitches represent the top of your hand. For the entire top of your hand, you get the 2 pattern repeats. For the back of your hand, you will only be working a single crochet in the back loop only. Okay. So that's very important. You're going to have 17 stitches, which will be the top of your hand. But then once you get past those 17, all of the stitches past that are single crochet in the back loop only. So no matter what size you're making, you will always have 17, and then it's back here where these numbers are going to be different. Okay. These numbers are going to be different. Now that means here, as I continue on, I'll just be working single crochet in the back loop only. If I wanted to have a reminder for myself to say, hey, this is the end of my 17, I could grab another marker and I could put that marker like through those front loops and just have it there, just as a visual point for me to always be like, oh, that's my last stitch because it's in that column of stitches. Okay, you don't have to do this, but it is handy for all of you out there who are very visual. Now we just complete our single crochet through the back loop only to the end of our round. All right, when we get to the end of the round, we will work our invisible join and we will move on to the next round. To the end of my round, I'm going to go into the first stitch of my round, put my loop on my hook, give that a little tug, and pull that through. So I have my invisible join. So that is my round 3 of my mosaic pattern. Now that we've completed round 3, of course, we're going to move on to round 4, but it's not as easy as like, oh, I'm just going to jump to round 4, because it's at this point in the pattern, you need to go to the instructions that are for the size you are making. You'll notice that for the 4 different sizes, there is a set of instructions for the left hand and the right hand. For the child, left hand, right hand for the small, left hand, right hand for the medium, left hand, right hand for the large. The reason the instructions are different is because the thumb gusset is started on a different round for each of those sizes, and the thumb gusset is worked for a different number of rounds for each of those sizes. As you know, I am making the child size fingerless mitten, which means I would go to the child size fingerless mitten and I am going to make the left hand. The difference between the left hand and right hand is really the thumb placement. All right, so that's what we're moving to. We are going to carry on to the next round where you will not only learn how to do round 4 of the stitch pattern, but you will also begin to learn about the thumb gusset for the thumb placement. So let's go ahead. Let's move on to that part. To begin round 4, we drop our color A, pick up our color B, and do a chain 1. Now we follow along with the instructions for round 4, which has us work 3 single crochet in the back loop only. So I'm going to do 3 single crochet in the back loop only. Go ahead and continue putting a stitch marker in the first stitch of your round if you need to do that. It's at this point we are placing our mosaic double crochet 2 rows down, so not into this stitch, but into that one right there, working it through the front loop only. So yarn over your hook, come down and go into the front loop of that stitch. Notice where the loop is the same color as the yarn that's on our hook. So yarn over, pull up a loop, make sure all of them are the same size as your hook. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Skip the single crochet behind that double, go to the next one, work a single crochet in the back loop only. And then we do another mosaic double crochet. So yarn over your hook, come down here, go into the front loop of that one, and work your mosaic double crochet. Okay. Now we go on and we will work 5, 3, 4. So this is 5 total single crochets. We do another mosaic double crochet in the front loop right here. A single crochet in the back loop only. A mosaic double crochet in the front loop. And then we will single crochet in the back loop only for 3 stitches. My marker here allows me to double check. Okay, so that would be the end of my 17. I'm in this column of stitches. So it's just like a double check for me. Okay, so now I know that any of the stitches from this point forward are the palm of my hand. At this point, it's important we talk about the thumb gusset placement because the placement as far as the stitch column is the same across all of the sizes. And I want to explain to you what makes the right hand different than the left hand. Again, as we look down here, we're looking at the palm of the hand. This is where the last stitch of the mosaic pattern is. This is the first stitch of the mosaic pattern. For the right hand instructions, you will notice that the gusset is not the first stitch after the mosaic, but the second stitch. So in that second stitch right there, that's where you will begin your gusset. For the left hand, you work all the way down here to the last 2 stitches. So it's not the last stitch, it's one over from the last stitch. So this one right here would be where you work your gusset stitches for the left hand, okay? The reason the gusset stitches are 1 stitch in from the mosaic on either side is because if you look at the anatomy of a hand, your thumb is not on the side of your hand unless you're holding your hand out flat, just like this. In your natural state, your thumb is really more towards the palm of your hand. Can you see that? So as you're wearing mittens that have the thumb placement directly on the side of the hand, when your hand is relaxed, it's going to pull what is decoration here on the palm or the top of your hand. It's going to pull it over into this direction. So I have found through the years of designing and teaching how to do mittens and gloves and convertible mittens and fingerless mittens and all of that, if I make the thumb gusset a little bit more towards the palm, not too far, just a stitch or two, it actually looks better as you're wearing your actual mittens. The nice decoration on the top of your hand stays nice and straight. That's why you'll see that the thumb placement is just that, like that 1 stitch in from the edge, okay? So when you're looking at the right or the left, the only thing you really have to think of is, okay, it's 1 stitch past the 17. So if you're 17, it's not 18, it's going to be 19. And then on the left hand, it's 2 stitches, you'd stop 2 stitches before the end. So it's not the very last stitch, it's the one right before it. That's where you would do your gusset. All right, that's across the board with all of the different sizes. Now, remember, I'm making the child size. So we start our thumb gusset here on round 4. The other sizes might start your gusset on a different round, but it will still be in the same stitch column. Okay, does that make sense? For me, I'm going to be doing the left hand gusset. So what I want to do is I will follow the instructions all the way over to the 2 stitches before the end. So I'm working my single crochet in the back loop only to the last 2 stitches. And then I will work my row 1 of my thumb gusset, which is the initiation of my increase row. Okay. It's my increase row. And what that is going to do is it's going to put 2 stitches to start off my thumb gusset. Now I'm to the second, right? This is the second stitch. That's the last stitch. So the second to last, that's the last. In this stitch, I want to place 2 single crochet in the back loop only. So I will do my first one and I want to take a marker and I'm going to place it in the top of that stitch. Okay. It's important you do this. You have to use markers for this point because the instructions are written to have markers. In that same stitch, do a second single crochet in the back loop only and place another marker. Okay. So now we have 2 stitches, each one is marked. And then we go to the very last stitch, work your single crochet through the back loop only, do your invisible join, just like so. And you've just completed round 4. And I have my gusset stitches started for my left hand of my child size thumb. All right. It's at this point, no matter what size you're making, you would move on to round 5, which will be the exact same right here. So let's work round 5 together. We will drop our color B, pick up our color A, chain 1. And so round 5 has us immediately begin with a mosaic double crochet. So I will yarn over my hook, come straight down from where I am and go into that bar down there, that front loop. I'm not going to call it a bar. It's a front loop. work my mosaic double crochet, and then I go on and I do 3 single crochet through the back loop only. Now I do another mosaic double crochet, so I yarn over my hook, come down here. It's between these 2 mosaics. I'm going to come down here and work into that front loop. You see that? Then I'll do 3 single crochet through the back loop only. And that would complete my repeat, right? So now I do it again. So I start off with a mosaic double crochet through the front loop, work 3 single crochet through the back loop only. That puts me over here between these 2, right? So I'll do another mosaic double crochet through the back loop only. Then I do 3 single crochet through the back loop only. And for symmetry, I have this one out here, which is a mosaic double crochet in the front loop only. And that's my 17. Again, I can check it on my column here and everything is good. So those 17 stitches are the same for everybody, for every single size. This is where things change. So it's at this point, you're carrying on. You have a different number of stitches back here, depending on what size you're making. And then depending if you're doing the right hand or left hand thumb gusset, you either have the gusset started over here or over here. If you're making the child's size or the small size, but you haven't started the thumb gusset if you're making the 2 larger sizes. Those will come like in the next row or 2. So it's the same process. You just might be on a different round when your thumb gusset starts, okay? So I'm going to work all the way over here to my marker. So I'm going to work single crochet through the back loop only all the way to my marker. I am to my marker, okay? And this is what you will do for the second round of increase for your gusset. In that first marked stitch, we're going to put 2 single crochets in the back loop only there. So going into the back loop only of the first marked stitch, we'll do our first single crochet through the back loop only. And in that first one, move your marker up and put it into the top of that stitch that you just created. Okay. Now, don't forget to do the second one into that same stitch. So there's your second one. Now we would work over just in plain single crochets in the back loop only to the next marker, which our marker's right here. And in the next marker, we will also put 2 single crochets in the back loop only. So go into the back loop only, do your first single crochet, and then do your second single crochet. After you do the second one, move the marker up and put it into that second one. Okay, so including the stitches that are marked, you have 4 stitches here now for your thumb gusset. Okay, carry on because it's the left hand. I just have 1 stitch here to do. So I do my 1 stitch and then do my invisible join. See that? Okay, so I have 4 stitches for my thumb gusset here, and I still have my 17 stitches here for the top of my hand, which are in the mosaic pattern. Let's go ahead and carry on to round 6, where we will drop our color A, pick up our color B, start round 6 with a chain 1. Very first stitch of round 6 is a single crochet in the back loop only. Then we immediately go to the mosaic double crochet in the front loop. So I yarn over my hook, drop down to that front loop, work my mosaic, and then I will carry on and I will do 5 single crochet in the back loop only. And then I complete that repeat with a mosaic double crochet in the front loop only. So those are my 8 stitches and I repeat all of that. Okay. So I will do a single crochet in the back loop only, a mosaic double crochet in the front loop, 2 rows below. Then I do 5 single crochet in the back loop only. Do a mosaic double crochet in the front loop. That completes the second repeat. I finish off my 17 with a single crochet in the back loop only. That's my column. Top of my hand is complete, right? Once again, this is the same for everybody. All of that is the same for everybody. Now we're in the palm of the hand. This is where it changes. You could be on the child size like I am, working on the left thumb gusset. You could be working on the right thumb gusset. You could be doing the small and have the same thing. You could be doing the medium or the large. Maybe your thumb gusset starts here. Maybe it's the next row. Like, look at your pattern and follow along. So it's back here where the instructions are different for each size. But I am going to work over to my marker. All right. So it says work over to my marker. So I'll do my single crochet in the back loop only over to my marker. And when I get there, I will follow the instructions again for my thumb gusset for the child size, which I know is another increase round. And what you'll notice is we will be increasing in those marked stitches, and we will move our stitch markers up just like we did before. And so instead of having 4 stitches between, or for the, not between, including our marker, our 4 stitches, we'll have 6. Okay, so here we are. We are to the first marker. So we're going to put our increase here for the child size thumb. So I put my first one into that stitch, move my marker up, put the second one into that same stitch. Now I will work in the back loop only over to the next marker. So I work in the back loop only over to the next marker, which I'm there. Go into the back loop of this one. I'll do my first single crochet, and I'm going to do the second one in the same back loop. And it's after I complete the second one that I want to move my marker up and put it into that second one. Okay. So we're always marking these outside stitches of our thumb gusset. I finish my round here by working my last stitch, which is a single crochet through the back loop only. Do my invisible join. Just like so. And there you have it. So that's round 6 of the mosaic and round 6 of my thumb gusset for the child size. Let's move on to round 7. Okay, round 7. I drop my color B. I pick up my color A. Drop my color B, pick up my A. Chain 1. Chain 1, round 7. Immediately has us begin with the mosaic double crochet again. So yarn over my hook. I'm literally just making one right on top of that one, right? So I grab that front loop right there. I think I split the yarn. I don't want to split the yarn. There. Did it again. There we go. And do that double crochet in the front loop. And then I go to the next and I do a single crochet in the back loop only for 3 stitches. Then I do another mosaic double crochet. Notice see how it's extending that one up. We're going to get that nice little cross symbol here. Then I do 3 single crochet through the back loop only. We do this again, double crochet in the front loop for that mosaic double crochet there. Then I do 3 single crochet in the back loop only. Do another mosaic double crochet in the front loop. 3 single crochet in the back loop only. And I finish off with the mosaic double crochet in the front loop right there. And that is still in my column of my 17th stitch right there. See that marker right there? You can see right there. It's good. So those are my 17 stitches of my mosaic pattern. Can you see how the cross is starting to take shape here? All right. It's the same for all the sizes. I know I keep repeating that, but that's the same for all the sizes. Now we're at the back of the hand. I'm going to work all the way to my marker, work my thumb instructions for this round I'm on, and then complete my round. So I will work single crochet in the back loop only over to my marker. You would do the same thing for whatever size you are making, whether you're just working even and you're not doing any increases or you're doing increases. Follow your pattern. For me, I will be doing another increase. So I will be placing increases in each of those marked stitches there. And then I'll be moving up my marker. Okay. To my marker, I'm going to place 2 double crochets in this first one. So there's the first one of the 2. So I move my marker up. Go into the same stitch, do another one. Now I'm going to work single crochet in the back loop only to this other stitch over here that is marked. All right, to the next one. So I'm going to put 2 stitches into this marked stitch. So I do the first one, then I do the second one, and it's in the second one that I want to put this marker into. Okay. See how that is? All right. So now I'm going to finish my round. For me, I'm at the end of my round here. So I'm going to work my single crochet in the back loop only, do my invisible join, just like so. You see that? And there you have it. So you can see here, see how if I were to put those markers together, you're starting to get an opening. That's where the thumb's going to go. That's where the thumb's going to go. So whether it's over here or over here, that's what's happening here is we're creating these extra stitches to give room for all of this extra meat here for our thumb. And this is the mosaic pattern. Again, you can see that. It's looking really good. Okay. Now I'm going to do round 8 here. And that will put me on the last increase round for my child size thumb. If you're following one of the other sizes, you would keep going, right? You're going to keep going until all of your stitches are done for your thumb. But let's get through round 8 here. I drop my color A, pick up my color B, and chain 1. All right, so round 8, I will place... Oops, let me get that in here. Single crochet in the back loop only for 3 of them. So 1, 2, and 3. And I don't know if you've already picked up on this. Like I use where my previous mosaic double crochets are to really help me like see the placement of where the next double crochet would go. So it helps me like visualize, like I know that this next one here is supposed to be right next to this. Cause if I'm looking at the chart, the X is like on either side of this one here on this row. So I know that if I, for some reason have single crocheted across and I'm not at this stitch, something's off. So I kind of use that as as like a tool for myself to kind of double check that I'm in the right place. But I'll put my mosaic double crochet there. Then I do a single crochet through the back loop only and another mosaic double crochet, which if you're looking at the chart, you'll see that that's the other X, right? So you have the X from the previous row. Those are the 2 X's there, which is your mosaic double crochet. And then we carry on where we would do 2 single crochet in the back loop only. That completes our 8. So we repeat that again. So we would do 3 single crochet in the back loop only, double crochet in the front loop for that mosaic double crochet, single crochet in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet in the front loop, and then we do our 2 single crochet in the back loop only. That completes our second repeat. Then we finish it off for the symmetry. We get just our solitary stitch, which is our last stitch in our column of 17. So this is what our stitch pattern is starting to look like after you get through round 8. Again, you're at the back of the hand. Follow the instructions for the size you're making. I'm going to come all the way over here to my marker again. And for the child size, it's another increase row. Okay, so I'm going to work over to the marker and I'm going to do an increase. Let's do the first one. Get into that back loop there. The marker is in my way this time. Okay, so there's the first one. Move your marker up. It's important you do that because this next round, we will be working to the marker and then doing something different. Put your second one in there. Now we will work even, which means you just don't do any increases, over to our next marker. So I'm to my second marker here. I'm going to put 2 single crochet into this one. So I do my first one, do my second one, move my stitch marker up, put it into that second one, complete my round. For me, that puts me at the end of the round. If you were doing the right hand, you would just work until you got to the end of the round, then do your invisible join, and voila. This is the top of the hand. This is what the gusset looks like. It looks really kind of goofy. It's like this big kind of pocket, which is exactly what it is. It's a pocket for your thumb. Right. We've reached the point in our pattern for the child size that on the next round, we will no longer be working any of those gusset stitches, but we need to reintroduce a stitch to make up for the stitch that we use to begin our gusset stitches. And we do that by working a chain. Now, I'm going to do that on the child size, but for the size small, for the size medium, for the size large, you will be doing this same action of doing the chain and then rejoining, but it'll be on a different round. Same process, just different round. So follow along with what I'm going to do here so that you know what to do on your size. If you wanted to hit pause until you got to that point on your own pattern, absolutely can do that. Go ahead and do that. Or you can just follow along with me here and watch me do this chain one and kind of bridge the gap of that thumb. All right, so we're going to go and move on to round 9. For round 9, we drop our color B and pick up our color A, and we do our chain 1. We work a single crochet in the back loop only for the first 2. And now we're ready to do a mosaic double crochet in the front loop only. If you're looking at the chart, you'll notice that this X is, diagonal from where that one is. So it helps you keep track of where you are. Now we will do a single crochet in the back loop only for 3 stitches. And another mosaic double crochet in the front loop. Okay. See how it kind of looks like got this nice balance going. You do a single crochet in the back loop only for the next stitch. Those are your 8 stitches. That's your repeat. So we will do this all again. So we will do 2 more single crochet in the back loop, mosaic double crochet into the front loop, 3 single crochet in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet into the front loop, single crochet in the back loop only for 2 more, right? So it's 1 more for the end of the repeat. This one here is to give us our symmetry. It's in our column of 17. That's perfect. So all of that is the same across all the sizes. Now here's where things get different. On the larger sizes, you probably have another increase round, okay? For this one, I'm done with my increase rounds. I'm ready to finish off my thumb. And you're gonna do this for the other sizes in the same way. So we're gonna work over to the marker. So work our single crochet in the back loop only over to our marker. All right, so we're to the marker. I want you to chain one. You're going to skip this marker, skip all of these stitches for the thumb, skip that stitch there that's marked, and come all the way over here to the last stitch of the round. And you're going to do, or the next stitch after that last marker, and we're going to work our single crochet through the back loop only. And that's the end of our round. So we're going to join. All right, because this is the left hand. So this is how it would go for the left hand. For the right hand, you would just go to the stitch after that second marker, work into that one, and then continue on. But you can see here, this chain one represents the stitch down here that we started our increases on, right? So if we count that chain one as a stitch, you are back to your beginning number for what you had down here. We're back to our beginning number. And all of these stitches out here, that's for your thumb. We'll come back here and we will work rounds of single crochet through the back loop only to create a nice thumb. You can see right here, we create a nice thumb working up past where this opening is. All right. But it's at this point we carry on still following our mosaic pattern. So we would move on to round 10, but now we don't have to worry about any sort of shaping. Once you get past where you've done this extra chain or this, to make up for the stitch down here, we don't have to do any more increases here. We're just going to work in rounds of these single crochet through the back loop only. What does change is when you get over here to where this chain one is, we're just going to work into that chain so that we can get just a normal stitch, and then we just carry on. So this is where things really just get super easy. So let's go ahead and move on to round 10. So we drop our color A, pick up your color B. I'm going to chain one. We're on round 10. So I start off with my single crochet through the back loop only. And then I do a mosaic double crochet in the front loop, then single crochet in the back loop only for 5, mosaic double crochet into the front loop right there. That is my 8-stitch repeat. So I repeat all that. So I will do my single crochet in the back loop only, mosaic double crochet right here, and then single crochet in the back loop only for 5. Okay. Mosaic double crochet in the front loop only. That's the end of my 8-stitch repeat. I finish with a single crochet in the back loop only. I double check. That's my column of 17 there, right? So that is my mosaic pattern. Now, remember, I'm not doing any shaping here. So if I wanted to remove those markers, I could. I'm just going to single crochet in the back loop only all the way to the end here. And when I get to that chain, I'm just going to work a single crochet into it. So let's get over to that. And this is exactly what you would do for the other sizes. When it's time for you to work into that chain, you would just work your single crochet into it. And at the end of that round, you'll be back to the same number of stitches that you started with through this whole journey. Okay, so let's get over here. I'll show you what I mean. It's that easy. As long as you keep these markers in place as you're doing the gusset for the thumb, you will be on track and never have any problems at all. Here's my chain. I'm just literally going to go into the chain, and you'll see it leaves a loop open, right? Which is fine, because when we come back and work around this, we're going to work into that. Okay, finish to the end of my round. So I have one more. And I finish with my invisible join here. Just like so. And voila, I am back to my original count. I have a thumb ready to go, and I just carry on with my pattern. it's important to note that as you're working those thumb gusset stitches, we want to have the gusset length different for the different sizes you're making. So for some of the larger sizes, it could be that you have a round or two inside of your gusset shaping that is just a plain round where you don't do any increases. In those instances, you will work over to your marker and just put one stitch into that marked stitch and then move up your marker. Okay, that's totally normal. The point of that is so that way we get the extra, the length here, the size that we need for the size you are making. But as far as the thumb gusset goes, that's what you're doing. You're just working those increases, or you're working a plain round to get those stitches up to the length we want and the total number of stitches we want for the thumb. Once you reach that point, you will do that chain one, like I said, and you're just joining the stitch before the marker, chain one to the stitch after the marker, and then continue your round. On the following round, you just work a single crochet into that chain and continue on. So it's at that point you can follow the instructions to a T and work exactly the number of rounds that I wrote in the pattern, and just follow along, work all those rounds following the mosaic pattern. Or if you want to customize yours a little bit, make your hand a little bit shorter or a little bit longer, you can always add more rounds or subtract rounds. It is not written in stone that you have to do the exact number of rounds as far as the total height of your fingerless mitt as I wrote. Like I just wrote it to a standard size, but if you want to customize it, that's the beauty of crocheting your own fingerless mitten. So it's at this point, what I need you to do is go ahead, continue working on your mitten, whether you are working on the thumb gusset still, or you're going to continue on to work the finger portion, which is right after the thumb gusset. Get through the finger portion to where you're ready to do the finishing at the top of your fingerless mitten. Join me back here and I'll show you how to do the finish that really ties it all together. And then we will go back and finish up that thumb, weave in your ends, and you will have a fingerless mitten by the end of the day. So go ahead, hit pause, get up to that point, and then I will show you how to do the finishing edge. Welcome back, and how did it go? I'm really hoping you had no problem transitioning from those thumb gusset stitches to that round with the chain, and then carrying on from there with the fingers. It's at this point that you should be able to try on your fingerless mitt if you're making it for yourself. So you can see if the length that you have worked to is going to work for you, or if you want it a little shorter, or if you want it a little longer. This next step is going to be the finishing touch of around the top of your fingerless mitt here. It does not add a whole lot of extra length. So whatever point you're to, you're just going to get like maybe 1/4 of an inch, a little bit extra going forward. So if you're ready to move on, let's go ahead and grab your smaller crochet hook again, and we will begin. I have reached the final round for my child size, and I can go ahead and fasten off my color B. And all that really means is just cut yourself a good length of a tail on your color B. We're going to set color B aside. We work the finishing round with color A. So it's at this point we can go ahead and remove the larger hook, okay? And we will be using the smaller hook. So stick your smaller hook in there. And we are going to do this really super unique finish, all right? So for the finishing, you will go ahead and chain one with your color A. And then we will single crochet into our very first stitch here, okay? Single crochet. It's at this point we are going to work the edge stitch, and the edge stitch is this. Can you see that bar right there of the single crochet? Let me point to it again. So I'm going to keep my hook in there. That bar right there. We are going to take our hook and put it into that bar in the side of the single crochet we completed, and then we're going to take our hook and put it into the back loop of the next stitch, just like that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. This is how we're going to create this next stitch. So you're going to go into that bar, then go into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, then pull that loop through the bar. Okay, so that leaves you with 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and draw through 2. And then we do that again. Go into that bar on the side of the single crochet, go into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop through that bar, leaves you with 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and draw through 2. It's going to give you this really nice finish here. Okay, let's do that again. Go into the bar, into the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop through the bar, yarn over, draw through 2. We will work this all the way around the top of the mitten. When you get to the end of the round, you will go ahead and work the same invisible join. Okay, so all the way to the end of the round, work the same invisible join. And then if you do a chain 1, we're going to fasten off color A. Notice I left a nice long tail. Pull that through. And then I can weave this in. But look at that. Congratulations, you're nearly done with your fingerless mitt. Aren't they cute so far? I think these are just absolutely adorable. Okay, the very last step is finishing off this thumb. As we look at the thumb, you will notice that the very last round that you did with your thumb gusset is either a color A or a color B. In order to maintain the color sequence, as we continue on and work the thumb, we want to make sure we're keeping in sequence. So if you finished your thumb with a color B, I want you to grab your color A. If you finished your thumb with a color A, I want you to grab your color B. Either way, we're going to continue on with the thumb as this. We're going to join to our stitch right here that I still have marked, right? That's the first stitch of my thumb because I kept those marked. I'm going to join with the single crochet in the back loop only into that stitch, and then each stitch all the way around. And then I'm also going to put one into that free loop right there of the chain that we did. Okay. So that is going to give you 1 more stitch than the total number of stitches you had for your thumb gusset. Okay, so that's 1 full round. You're going to join with your invisible join, change colors. So then you're going to do a round with your next color. You continue doing this for the number of rounds you have written in your pattern for the size you're making, or until the thumb of your fingerless mitt is as big as you want it to be. You could make it all the way up to here, or you could keep it right down here. It's totally up to you. The final round on the thumb is exactly like the final round we did on the top of our fingers. So that will help you kind of judge how far you really want to go for your thumb, knowing what your final round is going to be. So let's go ahead. Let's work these first couple rounds and then weave in our ends and it will be complete. For the thumb, you want to use your larger hook. Okay, we're going to use our larger hook until we get to the final round. And we're going to start with a single crochet into the back loop only. So I left my markers in so that I could easily see where the stitch is. So I'm in the back loop only, yarn over, pull up a loop. So I have a slip stitch on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and I'm going to do this all the way around my thumb stitches here. Okay, and I want to get all the way over to where my other marked stitch is. Depending on the size you are making, you will have either this many stitches or you'll have more stitches if you're making one of the larger sizes, obviously. And your thumb, it's okay if it's a little bit wider than you want it to be. You just don't want to make it too small, because if your thumb ends up too small, it just doesn't feel right on your hands. So you definitely want to make sure that it is as close to the circumference of your thumb as possible. Okay, so I'm going to go in there, and then over here, this is where I have my chain. I'm just going to go into the free loop of my chain, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, draw through 2, and then join with my invisible join. Now, as you're doing this, you might be like, oh, I feel like I have some holes or some gaps. don't worry about those. We have these tails here that we can use to close up any gaps that we might have in our openings down here. Okay. I'm going to take a second right here and remove these markers now since I don't need them. Okay. I'm going to remove those and I'm going to change colors. So I'm going to grab my color B and then change to my color B with a chain 1. And again, I will just be slip stitching, or not slip stitching, I'm sorry, not slip stitching. I will be working into the back loop, so single crocheting in the back loop all the way around. And you would just keep doing this literally until your thumb measures as large as you want it to, okay? So I'm going to go all the way around with my color B. If you were using color B before, you would be using color A. You kind of understand how that works, hopefully, to keep it in sequence. And all those tails, I have them all sticking out right now, but you can tuck them to the inside and then weave them in when we're all done. That's the next step. And like I said, we can use those tails to close up any gaps we might have at the join. I'm not worried about those. And one more. And then join with your invisible join. So find your starting point. You could use your marker there if you wanted. All these tails, I don't know which one to grab. Oop, put that back on there. And there we go. Okay. So keep working these rounds until the thumb portion is as tall as you want it to. And then the final round, you're going to switch to the smaller hook and you're going to do this same stitch for the edge. Okay. On the final round. For the child size, I have one more round to work with my color A. So I'm going to work my single crochet in the back loop only with my color A all the way around. And then I am going to do my edge round. So I get all the way around with this. And I kept the child size thumb just really kind of short because I didn't want it to cover up the thumb, entire thumb of the child. And so I felt like this size was the perfect length in combination with the gusset stitches and everything else. Get over here. All right. And I'm going to join with my seamless join. I can get my hook in there. There we go. Now I am done with my color B. So I can go ahead. Notice I'm leaving a nice long tail. It's especially important if you plan on using your tail to help close up any holes you might have. Okay, so I'm just going to let those hang there. Actually, no, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. If you just kind of come up here and put your finger up, you can hopefully try and grab those tails and pull them down into the body of the work so you don't have to mess with them too much. That is easier right there. Okay, make sure I didn't lose my join, right? Ah, it's right there. Don't lose it. There it is. Okay, use my smaller hook, and then it is on this round. We're going to do the same edge that we did before. So I start off with my chain 1, work a single crochet into the first one, and then I go into that bar. Okay, I'm going to go into that bar, go into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull the loop through that bar, yarn over, draw through 2. Go into the bar, into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop through the bar, yarn over, draw through 2. Okay, we're going to do this all the way around. the goal here with this particular edging is to make it look a little nice clean edge, but then also to pull it in just a little bit more snug than the actual body of, oops, I forgot to go through the edge, than the actual body of the mitten itself, so that the edge of the fingers and the thumb here, they should not flare out on you because we're using a smaller hook. So they should be nice and fitted. That's the goal. I split my yarn there, so I'm going to pull my hook out and try that again. Go through the bar, there we go. Through the stitch, pull up, through the bar, yarn over, draw through 2. Through the bar, through the stitch, yarn over, pull up, pull through the bar, yarn over, draw through 2. Through the bar, through the stitch, yarn over, pull up, pull through the bar, yarn over, draw through 2. I'm back to the start here, so I'm going to join with my invisible join. Okay. Chain 1, because that's how you fasten it off. Again, I'm going to leave a nice long tail so I can use it to weave in any holes that I might have. I just rather be safe than sorry. Give that a pull through. Okay. So here we are. We have our fingerless mitt. You can see here. It's a nice thumb gusset right there. And so now we just weave in all of our ends. Now I am not seeing any holes right here, but if I did, all I would do is put my finger up here like this and just kind of stretch it out. Be like, okay, well, maybe that's a little bit gappy there, so I can weave in that close. So this is how I would do that. So I'm going to grab my tapestry needle and thread either color A or color B, it doesn't matter. First off, I'm going to make sure that up here it looks really nice and neat. Yeah, it looks good. So I'm going to thread this tail. I'm just threading it down through the inside down to where I feel like that hole is. Okay. So I'm going to come down all the way to over here to this point. Okay. So it is through all of these stitches and I'm threading it all the way down to this point. And I am doing this on the right side so that way I can better see how this looks. So putting my finger in there, and what I do is I sort of try and create a closure by going underneath the same color that I was using, or the same color I'm using. I'm going underneath those stitches, and I'm just going to kind of try and like sort of like a duplicate stitch, but for crochet. So I'm just kind of pulling it around, making sure everything looks a little nice and tidy. Let's see, I'm going to come down here, see if we can get in through that area right there. Trying to get in back there. There we go. You see that? And I'm going to pull that down. That just closes that up a little bit. Can you see that? So now I'm going to go behind those. My goal here is that I never want the color I'm using to kind of show through on the right side. But even right there, you can see how that's nice and closed now, right? So what I could do now is I could thread this over through the same color stitches that I was using. So I'm kind of weaving in my tail as I go too. Not kind of, I am. And I did that all through the inside, so it's not visible from the outside as far as pulling it over to the opposite end. And then I come over here, and then there was a little bit of a gap right here, so I'm going to close it. Bring that over again. I'm pulling it through to where it doesn't show on the right side here. So I'm going to kind of follow this up. Let's follow through here. And this, let's see, let's go behind there. And then we're going to come down here. Oh yeah, look at that. That cinched that up really nice and neat. And then I can pop through these same color stitches down here. Looks like that's nice and closed. So it's at this point I would pop my needle to the inside, and this is where I would start weaving in anything to the inside. So I'm going to pop that in there. Okay, I'll just move that real quick. Turn this all inside out. This is where you weave in all of your tails. Yes, you weave them in. You do not crochet over them, especially for something like mittens or gloves or anything like that, because there's a lot of use. And so those ends are really going to want to pop out if you don't weave them in. So you definitely want to weave them in. Do not just crochet over them. So now I'm onto the inside here, and I'm just going to bury my ends. Make sure that everything is nice and tidy and it's all on the inside. So that way I don't have to have any sort of color bleed on the outside or have any unsightly floats out there that aren't supposed to be there. And as long as you're just weaving these in really nice and secure, especially if you're using an acrylic yarn, because it's not going to like felt on itself. So you want to make sure that it's really nice and secure, and then trim that end off. And yeah, you might be thinking to yourself, well, you didn't need all of that tail, but it made it easier for me to weave in the ends because I have this long tail. So go ahead. Let's weave in your ends as well. And then we can take a peek at the finished look. Okay, so I have all of my ends woven in. I'm turning it back right side out. Pull this up. Oh my gosh, how cute is that? So there's the left mitt, there's the right mitt. Thumbs are all in place. Oh my goodness, how adorable are these? Oh my gosh. Now I have to make some in my size because I want to put them on so badly, but I am definitely not a child size hand, but I definitely want to make these. They are just too cute. I hope that you are loving yours as well. As you are working on yours, don't forget to snap some pictures and share with me on social media. You can tag me on Instagram. I'm the Marley Bird over there. And if you use hashtag Marley Made Me Do It or MMMDI, I'll be sure to see your post and I will smash your like button. All right, everybody, that's it for me and the Cinnamon Dreams Fingerless Mitts. I love them. I know that you will as well. Until next time, everybody, I'm Marley Bird, your By Crafty bestie. I'll see you later. Hey, before you go, I want to mention something. Now that you have the fingerless mittens complete, why not make the matching Autumn Breezes hat? This is a free pattern over at marleybird.com, and it includes a video tutorial you will find right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. So you can have some fingerless mitts and a matching hat. What are you waiting for? Go get started.